The Star Wars brand is in bad shape under Disney. Fans are divided, and most new projects are criticized for poor writing. Most people agree that Episode 8, The Last Jedi, created the rift in the fandom that endures today. The movie has a lot of problems: a nonsensical plot, disrespect towards fan-favorite characters, and cringy moments. But despite its many flaws, The Last Jedi could have been a success if Rian Johnson had only done one thing different. The final nail in the coffin for The Last Jedi, and the first nail in the coffin for Disney Star Wars, was killing off Luke Skywalker. It's easy to forget, but Disney Star Wars pre-Rian Johnson was loved by the general public, the critics, and the fan base. Episode 7, The Force Awakens, was the highest-grossing movie domestically in 2015, and the Episode 4 prequel, Rogue One, was the highest-grossing movie in 2016. Even today, both movies have higher IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes audience scores than any of the prequel films. And at first glance, The Last Jedi appeared on track to continue the trend. It was the highest-grossing movie in 2017, the third consecutive year a Star Wars movie had secured that honor, and initially had a Rotten Tomatoes critic score of 97%, rivaling Empire Strikes Back as the best Star Wars movie of all time. Now, I hate The Last Jedi as much as any Star Wars fan, but even I have to admit the confrontation between Luke Skywalker and Kylo Ren is an awesome climax. It begins with Luke facing down the First Order as walkers tower over him. Not taking any chances, Kylo orders the walkers to open fire. As the walkers rain hell on Luke, a dust cloud kicks up and Kylo screams, "More! More! More!" It's campy, over the top, bordering on cringe, but it's the funniest scene in the movie, and is one of the few scenes from the sequel trilogy that's been turned into a meme. It has serious prequel energy in the best way possible, and when the dust settles, Luke Skywalker is still standing there, unscathed, as he brushes dust off his cloak. The audience at my theater laughed and cheered at this scene. Now, Kylo's fight against Luke is decent, though fans likely would have preferred an all-out lightsaber duel between uncle and nephew, something like we saw in Episode 3 between Anakin and Obi-Wan. But that being said, Luke using a force projection to distract Kylo and allow the Resistance to escape is more consistent with the movie's theme. Heroism is not necessarily about flashy acts only attainable by mythic heroes, but it largely consists in just showing up to do the right thing, something anyone can do if they can muster the courage. And if you're still not satisfied with a faux duel, Luke sarcastically dismissing Kylo with,
"See you around, kid,"
promises an epic showdown in the future Episode 9. Luke's trickery is only delaying the inevitable. He will be back, and he won't be going easy on his wayward nephew anymore. Shit is about to get real. And then, Luke just dies. When the scene cut back to Luke on his island, I figured he was just exhausted from the force projection. I became a little suspicious when the Star Wars score swelled as the film cut to a long shot of Luke looking at the Twin Horizons. Why are there Twin Horizons on this island planet? It's not a desert world like Tatooine, whatever. But I was floored when Luke just disappeared. The goodwill earned from the Luke v. Kylo confrontation was, to quote a young Obi-Wan,
"Blast her to oblivion."
Luke's death comes out of left field and feels random. Yes, earlier in the movie, Kylo offhandedly mentions that the strain of a force projection over such a far distance should kill you.
"You're not doing this. The effort would kill you."
Well, guess what? I didn't notice this comment earlier. No one in the audience noticed this earlier comment, and I bet most of you viewers didn't notice this comment at the time. If Luke effortlessly shorting off the Walker bombardment is an excellent example of show, don't tell, Kylo explaining the lethal consequences of force projection is the worst example of telling without showing I've ever seen. Luke's death feels anticlimactic following such an epic confrontation with his nephew, and audience members feel cheated out of an epic third movie showdown. There would be no opportunity for future authors to fix Luke's Episode 8 portrayal. He died a bitch death because he got tired from a fight he was too much of a bitch to show up to. The financial fallout of The Last Jedi was brutal. Solo released 6 months later to dreadful box office numbers. Ant-Man 2 even grossed more money. Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, tried to do damage control and erase controversial plot points from Rian Johnson's film. Rose was sidelined. The Holdo maneuver was dismissed as a fluke. Rey was upgraded from a nobody to Palpatine's granddaughter. Palpatine comes back as a big boss to replace the killed-off Snoke. and Kylo even stitches his helmet back together. These changes weren't enough to mollify the mob. It didn't help that the Rise of Skywalker script sucked ass. Despite being the final movie in the trilogy, Rise of Skywalker grossed less money than The Last Jedi. I believe the outrage towards The Last Jedi would have been milder had Luke Skywalker not been killed off. Sure, plenty of people would have complained about Rose being annoying, Canto Bight being a waste of time, Holdo being a bitch, Princess Leia flying around like Mary Poppins, Luke forgetting to teach Rey the third lesson, Luke milking space cows, Luke attempting to kill Kylo Ren, Snoke chasing the Resistance for 18 hours instead of just jumping to hyperspace to cut them off, Holdo breaking Star Wars mechanics by going to lightspeed through Snoke's flagship. There's a lot of problems with The Last Jedi. But despite these problems, these many problems, people would have mainly remembered the badass showdown between Luke and Kylo at the end of the movie. And if general fans still weren't satisfied, it would have been much easier to course correct in Episode 9 by giving Luke a more dignified role. Now, I have a controversial personal opinion, but I think Luke Skywalker's cameo in The Mandalorian Season 2 finale is overrated. But general fans love Luke's appearance and insist it's one of the best moments in Disney Star Wars, on par with the Vader hallway scene in Rogue One. For better or for worse, this reaction demonstrates that Star Wars fans are easily satisfied. Grown men will cry on camera seeing Luke destroy a few droids with some basic moves. The Last Jedi didn't have to do much to dazzle these fans, let alone placate them. Luke just had to do something cool. Killing Luke undermines his only cool scene in the movie and prevents him from having any future cool scenes. Had Luke Skywalker not been killed off, The Last Jedi would have been more than a critical and financial success. It would have been a success with the fans. There still would have been debates about the quality of The Last Jedi, but it would have been easier to make the case The Last Jedi is at least mediocre. And with Carrie Fisher's untimely death in 2016, it would have been easier to rewrite Episode 9's script with Luke having a more prominent role. The Disney sequel trilogy would have been regarded as a success, a course correction even from the failed prequel trilogy. But even without Luke dying, the truth is The Last Jedi would still have been a bad movie. Ultimately, The Last Jedi failed due to this bad writing, and if Disney was unwilling or incapable of delivering better writing in response to fan backlash, I doubt they would have improved the writing if fans tolerated The Last Jedi due to a good ending. The quality of Star Wars would have remained just as bad, but the brand and Disney's profit margins would be better. Perhaps it's just and right that The Last Jedi's failure was so complete. If we can't live in a world with good Star Wars content, at least we live in a world where bad Star Wars content is condemned as bad.